Hello, everybody. How are you feeling after a... You could be the biggest homer in the world, and I think you would have to admit that was at least a little bit of a surprising, no, I might go shocking victory. The way in which it happened. Wow, I just don't know that you could have asked for a better start to this season, especially after it seemed like the first half was setting up to be another one of those games that just slowly got away from you. But alas, it did not. We held the Buffalo Bills down just long enough to get back in it. Steelers on the road pull off an upset of the team that most people consider to be either the best or second best team in the AFC. You just love to see it. 23-16 on the road could not have started off any better. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is the venerable and illustrious Austin from 5-Star Matchup, aka Steelers Take on Twitter. Austin, aka Steelers Take, are you there, my friend?
Let's go, Steve.
Yes, we are here, dude. We are coming to you live after a dub, and I gotta admit, after that first half, I would be lying if I told you I thought this was going to be a celebratory atmosphere. I thought we could make it a game, but man, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, they got us in the first half. That's for
I'm not
sure.
gonna lie. They had us in the first half.
They had us in the first half. But overall, you can't be upset about that game. That's really why I like the harder schedule this year. Is like if we're gonna win games, I'd rather win them like that than like beat some shitty team, you know? Because like, what are you gonna say after we just beat them like that? You know, we shut them out in the second half. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Well, and I mean, I guess I think it's just at this point we're all just in the phase where we're going through sort of instant reaction and what was the first thing off your mind and that kind of stuff. And I gotta say, like, the defense was impressive today.
Oh man, the whole game.
They were completely different. They still had linebackers getting matched up in space, and I was screaming about it, but Buffalo wasn't really able to get it done, and they weren't able to really hit anything deep. They had that 137-yard like yak play, but I don't think they hit anything deep, did they?
No, I don't think other than that. I mean, nothing that stands out. I feel like the whole defense in general just like felt like they meshed together really well, even though there were new pieces.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do want to say real quick for the 23 people chilling in the chat, make sure you hit that like button, trying to rank so we can get all the people heading over from Mike Tomlin's press conference on the YouTube. So if you don't mind, drop a little like, get that up into double digits, maybe triple digits today, see how we're feeling. I hope Steelers Nation is pretty hyped. The defense was super impressive. The offense, I thought, in the first half was very timid. It seemed like because of the youth, it seemed like guys like Kendrick and Najee were feeling their way out.
Yeah, that's what it felt like the whole first half completely. And what was crazy is that completely turned around in the second half. At least, like, it felt like the line especially, like, kind of settled into the game, which makes sense because that's a lot of new people and a lot of new spots. So it's nice to see.
It did, and I felt like once they made halftime adjustments, me, you, and Gage, which, by the way, shout out Gage, he will be joining us as soon as he arrives on location in his illustrious home studio. We were getting pretty hard on Tomlin after the first half, and
especially Gage.
Yeah, especially Gage. He's and I mean, but I gotta say, this was the first time you saw the benefit of having a Matt Canada, because clearly things weren't perfect in the first half. It was a little tepid. But man, they just switched stuff up in the second half, and did they punt in the second half? I was trying to.
Let me see. I actually have.
I didn't get the chance to pull up the box score. If anybody in the chat knows, I don't think they did, and if they did, maybe
I don't think they did either. I don't think they did at all. I think they at least all their drives at least ended up with them in field goal range, which is like. That's what you saw from the first two drives after the half. I mean, they drove down the field. They just weren't finishing off the drives. But then that all turned around when they blocked the punt.
Yeah. Well, the offense wasn't doing it. I mean, shit, they had like 57 yards at halftime, I think. You
Yeah,
know,
57 yards at half,
that's
which is
good. I mean,
insane.
I'll take it because for the purposes of cutting 5-star matchup, the first half is not going to get a ton of play. So I'm happy like the first quarter there's basically like 2 or 3 plays that and then the rest kind of gets thrown out. But that's how the start of the season always is.
Yep. That's definitely a first quarter that you can skip the highlights for because there aren't many for the
Yeah.
Steelers.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but the second half had plenty for you, though.
oh yeah, no, it's gonna be a banger of an episode. Shades of last year's Colts episode.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm excited. If you're in the chat right now, that means you dig the show. Make sure you consider sharing that up tomorrow. First thing when you see it, we got to get into that algorithm. We got to go big. 5-star matchup is going to the moon this year. So make sure you help us out with a share. I got to say a couple things that flew off the page for me. I've been saying it for the last month. I've been pounding the table. Melvin Ingram is a fucking player. Like Melvin Ingram,
Grown ass man.
he really is, dude. He alleviates so much of what I was worried about losing Bud. Not just the pass rush ability, but the ability against the run and shifty quarterback play and stuff. They did get a handle on the Allen running thing because it was very frustrating early, but then they settled down and
Yep.
he didn't get a lot.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I liked the way that the front four were able to make that pressure. I mean, Allen a few times you could see him getting nervous and he threw some bad balls, or they were holding everyone pretty much, and Ingram especially, and Watt obviously,
Yeah.
which really helped out. I mean, they were getting holding penalties the whole game. It's like the defense never really let up, but
Did
the offense just needed that time.
did TJ get did TJ get
He got a
two
forced fumble
did he get
and
two and a half
sack.
sacks? I was wondering because there was one where him and Cam kind of met
Yeah.
Allen, and I wasn't sure if that was a split sack or if that was just on Cam.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's okay.
Cam had a great game too.
Both
Overall.
Cams. How about
Both
Sutton?
Cams, yeah, exactly.
I thought Sutton was arguably maybe the defensive player of the game. He was
really
locked
was.
down.
He was. He had a lot of really nice plays. The only play he got beat was the touchdown, and it was just a perfect throw by Allen.
He didn't
But
even really
other than
get.
that, it was like he didn't get beat either. It was just good play.
Yeah, he
Sometimes
barely
that happens.
got beat. That was just a perfect.
I mean, he was locked on him.
Yeah. Shout out, by the way. We locked down a deal at the last minute. Somebody that I talked to a while ago to work on our thumbnails. Maybe some people know Juju's Bike from the Twitters. Yeah, he's.
I think we follow each
I shout
other.
out to him, reached out to him a little earlier and asked him if he wanted to help out. So he did some work for us. So I got some thumbnail work done already. Look at that.
Nice.
I do have Cam, and Cam made that tackle on that play where I thought it was egregious overthinking by Buffalo when they had the 4th and 1. Were they down by 10
Did
already?
that little flick backwards or whatever they were trying to do? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, dude.
Or-
Your quarterback's 6'7".
Yeah, like just sneak him in. He did it last time perfectly.
I mean,
Man, they were good on fourth as well.
they did. How many? I gotta pull up the box score here because
At least two.
it seemed like they were doing a great job. I mean, you just love to see it. I didn't anticipate that. I said it when we were watching the end of the game, and my initial thought was just I never expected. I thought there was a good chance the Steelers could win, and I didn't think it would be shocking, but I didn't think there was any chance we were watching Roethlisberger take a knee.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Right? I mean, as you were watching
Especially
it,
at half.
yeah, it was just, I figured, okay, this will be a game where like maybe Ben, goes out and just puts the second half on his back. And I thought, hey, we got to give props where it's due because this was a big question mark coming into the season. Man, I thought Benjamin was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he had a admirable game. I'm curious of what his numbers are because whenever you have a game that's not like skewed, it's like
Yeah, well, he
messes
didn't
with them.
he didn't have a ton of yards, but you know what it was like He did miss two short completions. I think one to Najee and one to Deontay maybe early on, where they would have been first downs, and you're like, Ben, you gotta hit those.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah,
the
a few overthrows.
the intermediate stuff, I thought he made some really nice passes. The deep one to freiermuth. Ebron had a nice catch down the field. Juju had a
Yep.
couple, and I thought low key maybe one of the plays of the game to lock it down was Ben chucking it deep to get the PI against Claypool.
Oh yeah. And that comes with that like being a veteran, being able to do that kind of stuff like
He knows where to throw it to
yeah.
draw that.
Yeah, if your player's not going to catch it, he's probably going to draw this penalty. So it's great to have somebody like that out there still.
I see Lightning Bot in the chat said Steelers over Bills. Who saw that? And I respond with a resounding everybody at 5-star matchup.
Yep. Because we're homers.
We are, and that's our job. And I'm so excited that I have something positive to talk about tomorrow. This episode is going to fly off the shelves. Thank God I took tomorrow off of work because I am going to make an absolute banger of an episode. I'm very excited about this.
Yep. Great game.
Yeah, what any other thoughts off the top of your head? I feel like I've been rambling.
Yeah, let me see. I wrote some stuff down at like half,
Perfect.
just like my feelings.
Your feelings,
My
what
feelings,
you believe,
how I feel.
how you think.
Yeah. Yeah, I pretty much wrote like not many positives other than like TJ Watt getting that forced fumble was nice, obviously, but
Yes,
we
it
didn't do
was.
anything with it,
It
which
was.
we immediately like I forget what happened right after, but we got moved back, so
TJ, they just gave TJ 2, so he didn't. The Cam has a whole sack, so that was those were all whole sacks. So TJ had 2, Cam had 1.
nice. That's it. That's a great game.
Yeah, that shows. Does training camp matter?
Yeah, exactly. He came out and performed better than everyone.
You know who I thought had a really nice game, and it was very, very sort of positive development for me. Is that I thought against good receivers, I thought James Pierre looked like he belonged.
Oh yeah, that one play he had was
The
like, super
knockdown
nice, wasn't it?
when the
Yeah.
guy had the catch and then he got it, he
Yeah.
batted it down out of his hands.
Yep. Was that Diggs too, or who was that? I don't remember. Who
I don't
it was
remember if that was
man.
Diggs or Sanders, but man, that team. I mean, just when you look at the box score, and I mean, the Steelers came back in the second half. That's obvious to anybody, but they had 7. It was 17 points they scored in the fourth quarter. Like, I can't get over that. I can't look at a game against arguably the best or second best team in the AFC and see you scored 17 points in their house in the fourth quarter and not say that's impressive.
Yeah, that's like on Twitter. I said that's probably the best home opener we've seen in a very long time. Just because, like, I mean, last year we won, but it was versus a bad team, and then previous years we tend to lose. So, man, it feels good to actually start a season like that.
It really does. And on the road, and I mean, just against such a good team. I really did think. I thought there were moments that Buffalo. I'll have to say, I think Tomlin outmaneuvered McDermott, which is interesting because I think McDermott's got the better of him the last 2 years. But I think Tomlin.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Tomlin came out the successor today. Obviously, the win, but I thought there were moments where McDermott was overthinking things.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff comes with the first game of the season. I mean, that's why I think in a previous one I said something along the lines of I'd rather play them coming out in this first game than I would a few weeks in, like
Yeah.
maybe catch them off guard with something new.
Ahmad says in the chat that it was Sanders. I assume he's talking
It was
about
Sanders, yeah.
that Pierre knocked it out of. I'm assuming that's what he was talking about.
Sanders had some nice catches.
Oh, he's still good.
Oh yeah, he is. I mean, he's going to be good for them going forward for sure.
Because they didn't really have a 2. They have a 3. They have a great slot, and they have a great.
Yeah, they have a slot.
A great one. And Beasley is a killer, man. He is good.
Yeah, we minimized him as well. I liked what we did in total as far as the DBs go.
My main problem, and I'll see this overnight when I look at the show, My main issue defensively really was that, especially early on, they were giving they were giving they were giving up too many yards on like second and longs, and that was allowing Buffalo to go from like second and 10 or second and 13 to like third and 2 or third and 3, and I
Yeah,
thought that was making it difficult early.
yeah, for sure. I noticed that too, because like you'd see them lose a bunch of yards on like first down, and
Mm-hmm.
then they would methodically get like chunks of like 6 or 7 yards, and they just have third and manageable by the time they're back. So
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I agree, but it's bend don't break. It felt
Well,
like a
and then
lot.
you get to the end of the day and you realize they gave up 16 points on the road to one of the best teams, and so
Yeah,
you know
man, they went into a packed house
it
and
was
won that game.
raucous, absolutely
That is
raucous.
insane. That is
That's
hard to do.
that's hashtag Pittsburgh Steelers football.
Yep.
You just love to see it. Shout out, there's 50 concurrent viewers in here and only 26 likes
Hey,
on the stream. That's a little out of whack for how I like to see things. So make sure you drop a quick like on the stream so we can rank
what's
in the
up?
algorithm, get more people. If you like the channel, also please consider subscribing to the Patreon at patreon.com/5SMU. We got one earlier today, a new $7 patron.
Nice.
Love to see it. That's the absolute best way to support the show. A few bucks keeps we got accounts running, we got things we pay for. We're trying to
Keeps the
bring
lights on.
bring them the best, bring the people the best. And yeah, I just it's an impressive thing. I really think, let me see here, I have the drives pulled up now, because one of the things I wanted to look at was if we did punt. Let's see, third quarter field goal, turnover on downs by Buffalo. This is the stretch. The third quarter, even though we didn't score the points, that's what turned things, because in the third quarter there's 4 possessions, right?
Yeah.
Steelers field goal, Bills turnover on downs after a 40-yard drive, Steelers another field goal, and Bills another turnover on downs after 27 yards. So that's 2 possessions there where the Steelers were starting more or less at midfield.
Yep.
And they didn't score. They scored a touchdown off of the second turnover on downs, but only a field goal off the first one.
Yeah. I mean, super impressive way to come back out after half. I mean, somebody must have been yelling at him because that's quite the turnaround to make.
Yeah, no, it was not the kind of thing you get used to seeing. It's a rarity to have a game like that in week 1 where suddenly you just were like, okay, well, we're going to get on the same page now and we're going to handle our business and get it done. I do see some people in the chat, by the way. If you have
Yeah.
anything you want to chime in with, let us know. We're happy for you to contribute.
I like that Nathan was saying about, I mean, that's without Tuitt and Watt just being back, like that's really something to look forward to for next week. I love Tuitt, man. I can't wait to see him back out there.
I think
Hopefully he's back out soon.
he's going to be, it's at least
Or not
3
next
weeks.
week. I mean, 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at
You're right.
least 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But did you notice, what did you guys think? And this goes to the chat too, about TJ moving around, almost playing like a roaming
Yeah.
middle linebacker. What do you think about that? It kind of caught me off guard.
They were all doing that a bit, and I kind of liked it. I mean, I felt like it opened up some different lanes.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice if you're getting stuffed up, you can switch it up a little bit.
Well, they have now. I mean, what they very quietly and suddenly done on the defensive side of ball is that they've acquired players that are. It's like, you're not big on basketball, right? Like, but
Yeah.
I a few years ago, when Golden State got really good, they had this lineup called like the Death lineup, and it was like a small ball, all forwards and guards, and they just would out athletic you. And I
Yeah.
feel like the Steelers really have that on defense now because they just have guys that you can put in any position. I mean, TJ is a pass rusher, and that's where you're getting your best benefit from him. But you can play him at middle linebacker and trust that he's going to be good keeping containment on, spying on the quarterback if that's what you have him doing, or playing the
On
run.
top. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I agree.
Man, it's exciting. Just love to see it.
I'm still in like shock that we won that game.
Yeah, I'm
And not
saying.
no dread. If we had to deal with a full week of what it sounded like on Twitter and stuff at halftime.
Oh,
Uh, Never fun.
I don't know if you noticed this. I made a pretty concerted effort. I just really wasn't on Twitter much during the game today.
Yeah, man, I don't blame you.
It's just
A lot of you'll catch a lot of people making entire year judgments after the first half of the first game, which is like blows my mind. Just save your you can't say things like oh, I knew the offensive line would be bad or something
yeah.
like this. See, like what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's you have not seen them long enough to make it such a generalization like
I
that.
know.
Just
And it's like rookies playing their first snaps in NFL speed. Like
yeah,
chill out a little bit. I
not
thought
gonna
that
go exactly how you want.
I'll see it looking on tape, but I thought the line kind of acquitted themselves well, especially in the second half. That Najee had that nice run that was maybe like 22 yards, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did. And they looked like they came out. He had the first run when they came back out was like 10 yards. I think that gave him a little bit of motivation to
Yeah,
follow
well,
him, and it seemed better.
that's what I was saying coming out after we got the 10-point lead and we got another possession there, and I was like, man, this is Najee Harris time. This is what you draft a running back in the first round to do, to lock this shit down. And they weren't able to get a ton going on the ground, but you saw
I
a
saw glimpses at least.
exactly of unique. Like there was a few moments. There was one moment that really stood out to me, and I'm definitely going to point it out on the show, where they converted a 3rd-and-1 late with Najee, where it wasn't something. It's not a highlight, but it's just one of those things where he made a couple moves, and you're watching it. You're like, Connor probably doesn't get that last year.
Yeah, he like bounced it to the outside a little bit. I remember that, and it's just so refreshing to see them like at least try to run on third
It
down.
it really is. And just converting those things, and that was such a bugaboo in both the Duck year and last year, and it was that they would get into these situations where it's like, oh, it's a 3rd-and-2. If you get this, the game's over, and they'd hand it off to Connor or do a pitch play to Jalen Samuels or whatever, and it just never worked. So it was nice to see that Najee just looks like a professional running back.
Yeah, you can tell by like it's that vision that he has when he gets to the line and like is actually able to just eke out those extra few yards at least. Like that's what really like does it for me. I
Yeah.
felt like Connor never had that ability.
No, I think Connor's a great complimentary piece. That's why I'm actually excited for him over in Arizona, which I think, didn't they whoop up on somebody today?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I only caught like a little bit of that.
Um, yeah, no, I mean, that is an interesting thing. We'll take a look at in a little bit just around the league. There was a couple weird games just from Cincinnati won in overtime. Good for them. I didn't know.
Oh yeah.
Philadelphia put the hurt down on Atlanta like 32-6. Matt Ryan era is coming
Wow.
to an end abruptly. Um, but we're here to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously. And
Screw those guys.
if you are in the chat right now, please do consider hitting that like button if you haven't already. And if you like the show and you like what we do and you know what our main show is and that it's coming out tomorrow, make sure that you consider dropping a couple bucks on our Patreon. You can find the link below. Would help us quite a bit. Where's our good friend Gage? He's running late. I thought he was supposed to be
You
here by
know,
now.
he was in here before you, and he was like in his car, and we
Oh, I
talked for a little
see.
bit,
Oh,
and
I
he was
see.
like, "I'll be there in 10 minutes," and then
Yeah.
it's been a lot longer than that.
Oh, I got a touchdown from Nick Chubb. I guess the Browns must be.
Did they start? Oh yeah, they started a while ago.
They did.
They
Wow.
started like a half hour ago.
Yeah, it's like 4:54 already. Jeez. Football
Is that
Sunday.
the first points of that game?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the scoreboard. It's 8-3. I just looked now. So I
Oh,
guess
okay.
they must have went for 2. I like that.
Wow.
I think more coaches should go for 2 just out of the gate.
Hmm.
You don't like it?
I don't know.
I think it flips the numbers.
I don't know about in that
I
situation.
liked the year Tomlin did that. I thought it was advantageous at times. I don't know.
All right, I'll give you it. Almost the end of the first already in that game.
Oh,
Hate to see.
time flies by. Shout out Small Ben in the chat. He's
All
very
Ben.
hyped. Yes.
Uh,
Oh man, we just like I'm so elated to see just a really compelling first game back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought it was were you surprised by this was going way back to the beginning of the game, but were you surprised to see Spillane inactive?
yeah, I think they said he actually got hurt right before the game, like in
Oh,
practice.
I didn't see anything
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I saw that later on that he got hurt in warmups, so that was a last minute decision.
Damn, well, good for Buddy getting a hat in his first game. I don't know if I saw him out
Did
there.
he play? I don't know if I saw him out there either.
I don't know. I mean, I just know he was active. Who got the block too? Did we ever figure that out? Was that? I think that was Miles Killebrew.
Oh yeah, it was. It was Killebrew, and then UG3 recovered it.
Wow, and I was giving him, I was hassling him for staying on the roster.
To be
Uh,
fair, there were like all Steelers around the ball once that happened.
that's true.
So
That was like the most I've ever seen a punt blocked. He was there
he
like
was like he like didn't even expect it. It looked like he was just standing over it like.
yeah, he was there before the guy even like started his motion.
Yep,
Crazy.
you'll love to see it.
You really do. What else? Anything just fly off the page for you as we're coming down a little bit from the buzz and just getting into that more of a present state of mind? What anything jumping off the page?
Mm, let me think. I don't know, man. It's just so solid defensively, especially. I mean, that's what really like, we should lean towards. And like my first impression of the game in total would probably be the defense looks the way we left them pretty much. They look solid, not the way we left them because they were injury riddled last time we saw them, but
No, I
they
know what you
look
mean. Yeah.
they give me that feeling of pre-injury Steelers defense, and then the offense is like their ability to bounce back is super promising, especially against a team of this caliber. I mean,
I totally
it's
agree.
great to see.
I totally agree. I do think the Bills' uh, defense is a bit overrated by the fact that
Yeah,
their offense is very good. I think people miss that a little.
yeah, I saw somebody like calling them a top five defense, and I just don't agree with that. I don't think they're a top five defense. I think they could be a top 10 defense, maybe like
Well, and
the lower portion of that, but
you know what they have too that's a huge flaw, and it's what the Steelers fell victim to late in last year. It's just that um, they have a quarterback who's young enough and strong enough to throw the ball 70 times a game, but you're talking about
yeah,
week 1 and they were leading most of this game and Allen threw 51
continue to
passes.
throw a
He,
lot.
he threw
Yeah,
51 passes
yeah.
and he had at least how many carries? He had a number of rushes. He had nine rushes for 44. So I mean, that's a lot of you're putting a lot on your quarterback, and I know he's great, but I didn't really feel threatened by Devin Singletary's little 4 or 5 yard runs here and there.
No.
They really lack balance.
The only time they even that one drive that they started running the ball actually was after I think it was after the we went up by 10. So like it
Yeah.
smelled of desperateness. So
Well, yeah, they were that was interesting. I did notice that too. That they did sort of a they
they
were
kind
trying
of tried to adjust
they
their
were
style, but
just
then they
trying
were
to go
like, "There's
against
no
type.
time."
Yeah, they were trying to go
Yeah,
against type because they had gone that spread offense the whole game,
yeah,
and I don't know. I really I I think that Buffalo's offensive coordinator Brian Dable. I think he's a really smart guy and he's gotten a lot of credit the last couple of years. But I have to say, I think Tomlin and Butler just I think outmaneuvered him today. I really do.
yeah. You'll love to see it.
Didn't anticipate saying that.
Yeah, yeah. Not at all. Oh man.
Man. Well, big thank you to everyone hanging out in the chat. I hope you were here earlier. Let's see what else we have going on in here. Norwood got the block. Somebody said that. I think that was corrected because it wasn't Norwood. What about Trey Norwood? Did you notice how much he was playing?
Yeah, he played the first snap of the game. He was in there so much, and he seemed to help hold it down, especially that one in the end zone. I mean, that was a good play on the ball.
It really was. That he was impressive. I think they alluded to that he was a little bit of a secret weapon this week, and
Hmm.
you saw it. He was deployed a lot. I thought a couple times he got matched up on Diggs, and I didn't like that because Diggs is too smart. You're not
Yeah,
gonna you can't put a
even your
rook on
best
him.
guy,
Yeah.
yeah, even your best guy will get beat by him every once in a while. So
But they, he I thought he acquitted himself well. I thought that Schobert was put in a tough position often, and he didn't really get burnt. So I guess he did pretty good. He was
yeah,
one
I mean, anytime you don't notice him is usually a good thing.
because I often noticed him like pre-snap lined up opposite
Yeah,
either a
yeah,
back or a receiver, and I didn't feel like he really got beat very often. So he must have done a pretty good job.
yeah, exactly. He didn't give up anything as far as I'm concerned, like anything big at least. So
My friend in the chat, Richard K, says, "What's the count on how many times you've said love to see it today?" Well, a lot. That's definitely like my football. See, because like I get, what my problem is on football Sundays. I end up now since I do this show, I have like
give the little
I
catchphrases.
have the Discord. I just mean the amount of chats I'm in where people are like expecting me to shit talk or be like pro Steelers. So it's
Yeah.
like I'll have the friends, the text chat, and then you have the Discord for 5-star matchup, which you can be a part of at www.patreon.com/5smu. I have the Discord. I have the chat, the Twitter chat with you and Gage. I have like, my sister's texting me, my uncle's texting me, and I just forget who
Yep.
I'm responding to half the time. I'm just firing off responses, while I'm running around the house on commercial breaks. I'm like, I don't think I sat down for more than 30 consecutive seconds all day today until I got on with you.
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff I had to do this morning, and it felt great to actually sit down and watch a game.
I move all day, like all day, all morning, even while I was doing the stream and stuff. I just pace from room to room. I get too excited. I'm like a dog waiting to go
Yep.
outside. I can't, it was, and then when Boz made the kick, when he really
Oh man, yeah,
locked it in, I was just like, man, this is such a nice fucking moment because it was one of those football moments where you're like, coin flip. Boz either makes this and it's over, and you knew
yeah,
if Boz missed that, Buffalo would have scored a touchdown. It would have gone to
absolutely.
overtime.
That was for the game pretty much, and it. Yeah, I mean, he sunk that thing. That was like his best field goal of the night, and it was the furthest one.
Boz is
He's money.
Boz is ice cold, dude.
Hmm.
I mean,
Think of that. You're back for the first time in a year in a stadium with all these screaming fans.
oh
Just sink that baby.
that dude is ice cold, bro. He doesn't even look like he gives a shit. Like he really doesn't look like he cares. And I got faith in him, man. Not a lot of guys that I've rooted for on, my sports teams where I just had almost 100% faith that they were going to do their job every time it mattered. And I always do with Boz.
Yeah, man. Boss is the money. He's the money man.
He is. Wow. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm having a pour of a very, very nice whiskey that my, I guess, fiance's sister brought us, and it is fantastic. And I am feeling so, so elated and perfect about this Steelers win. Very excited. Steelers haven't scored on an opening drive in forever. Never get it. Well, they didn't even have a game for the
Not
last 6
three and out
months.
this time, though.
Did
Not
they?
three and out this time.
Did they get a first down in the first series?
Yeah, they got a single first down,
Ooh,
and then they were out.
you know what we haven't talked about today? What did you think of the receiving core? If we go through them one by one, I thought it was interesting to see two of them kind of face their bugaboos, which, I have no questions about Juju, but with Deontay, I thought that touchdown catch set it chartered a course for his season. I think that was really an important thing.
Yeah.
Don't you
That
think?
reminds me of the one that he had versus, like, I think it was the Jags last season, where it was like still up in the air, and he manages to find it even after it's bouncing in the air a little bit. And it's like that's what
Yeah.
you love to see from a guy, especially a guy who has some dropping problems or has been known to. So
You might
Yeah.
have a little bit of a career arc that's kind of like Devonte Adams. And
Whoa, seamless integration of the third member of the party.
seamless.
Gage, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm freaking fantastic.
All
That
right.
game gave me about 3 heart attacks and a stroke, but I'm here.
You were not in a good place at halftime. Why don't you
No.
since me and Austin have been ranting, why don't you go ahead and just give a little bit of just your stream of consciousness, where you're at, how you're feeling, it's where you were. I want to go on the journey with you.
Well, like, so there's a couple different ways that, like, okay. So the first quarter and the second quarter, I think we can agree were putrid shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, but the problem is it was the same exact problem. Like, what I saw was essentially the Randy Finkner offense if Randy Finkner ran Matt Canada's offense.
Yes.
It was run, run, pass, run, run, pass, run, run, pass. It
Yeah.
was the same garbage, and I was freaking hot, man. And then they went into halftime, and I remember thinking, this is one of two things is going to happen. Either A, they're going to come out and they're going to look just as flat as they did in the first half, or B, they're going to come out and they're going to do what they did to the Colts last year.
Yep.
And I I I really couldn't tell you. I thought it was a bit of a coin flip. And as pumped as I was that we won, as pumped as I am that we won the game and whatnot, I also have to kind of bring it back and say, listen, our offense scored 16 points. We couldn't really run the ball that well for most of the game. Eventually, we wore them down, and that's good. But that's something you got to work on, especially with that O line, which looked like putrid shit for the first like half of the game or so.
I mean that's fair, but I could also point out that I don't believe they punted in the second half. So
Yeah.
I
They
can't. You can you can say whatever you want as far as they scored 16 points, but if you have a whole half where you don't give somebody else a plus possession, that's a good half of football.
That's true, and that's something I was mentioning in the chat was like that they were finally getting in. I didn't really mention rhythm, but like they were finally getting in rhythm, and finally like they noticed the weaknesses on the defense, and it was something that we haven't seen from really recent Steeler offenses was them learning from their mistakes. It was very
Yes.
interesting to watch.
Yep.
Well, I think that's what you see. Well, that's what you want when you bring in a guy like Matt Canada, where we've talked ad nauseum about this, but a guy who's a little bit more intellectual, maybe, and modern in the way he's thinking about offense. And I think we've talked about this theme of counterpunching all August, and I think he was forced to use it in week 1, and the good news is it worked.
Yeah, it was a case where we were able to come out, we saw what wasn't working, and instead of just going to 5 wide and saying, fuck it, let's have Ben do all the hard work.
Do everything.
They adjusted the game plan. And so that first half was frustrating, but I will say for as frustrating as that first half was, the second half was probably just as, if not more, redeeming. I'll put it that way.
That's a good way to put it. I like the way you put that.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I mean, it really felt, and I'm so thankful for this because of the episode I'm gonna get to cut. It felt so much like that Colts game, a little different, only because I was still. I'll sound like I'm trying to be a little bit of a homer, but I mean this sincerely. I was still like, even at 10-0 and 10-3, which I think was a halftime score, right?
Yeah, I think so. No, 10-6.
10-0.
Was it?
What, at half?
Everybody said something different.
It was 10-0 at half.
It was 10-0 at half, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yes,
it was.
it was 10-0.
For sure.
Okay, so, I mean, even there, I felt like Buffalo had every chance to be up 17 or 21
Yes, they
points,
did.
and
I felt
they
like we
weren't.
lived.
And I felt like that's weathering the storm. And to me, on the road, you just have to be able to, you have to, it sounds football cliche, but you have to be able to weather that storm and make sure it doesn't snowball and become something worse. And I felt I did feel a little encouraged at half that I was like, well, this is still 2 plays away from changing. I mean, even though we got 2 field goals, at 10-6, it suddenly felt like, oh, they're in this. Like Ben is in rhythm now. He's got something. I think the only thing I would say different to the Colts game last year is halftime of that game, you're sitting there like, how can he even do it anymore? I didn't question that they would be in this game. I just didn't think they'd get back in it so quick.
Yeah, that's like a completely different feeling than whenever like we weren't just getting blown up on both sides. Is what like having that ability to be like, listen, we know we're getting messed up on offense right now. We can put it together. We just have to. That side of the ball needs to put it together. So
somebody's yelling at me in the chat, by the way. Did you watch the game? It was 10-0. Like, I just don't remember what it was at half. Like, I couldn't remember.
It's not like you were live tweeting the whole game or anything.
Yeah, like
what? I also said hard to beat Big Ben and refs.
Oh, that's going to be the thing you're going to hear already. Somebody in my fantasy football chat was like, I don't know if they were a Bills fan or whatever, and they were doing their ref thing, and I'm like, dude.
You guys only got called on holding pretty much. I mean, you may have had like one other big penalty than that.
Well, it was that the deep pass interference on Claypool late was pretty important.
Okay, listen, that bothers me because that's something that I was pretty sure. I literally said it to my girlfriend like while we were watching the game. I said they're going to start. Bill's Twitter is going to just blame this loss on the refs and not the fact that
it's the first one.
It was the first. Like when I was looking at some of those pass interference calls, I don't think I disagreed with a single one. Like the one to the deep one, even the deep one to Claypool.
I thought the late one to Claypool was clutch for us, and I love it. But I could see being a little bit out of shape if I was a Bills fan. Don't you think, Austin?
Yeah, you know what I think? I think because honestly, I think Ben purposely throws that a little bit like that just to cause that kind of thing. And I can see why you're upset if you're a Bills fan, but that's what's going to happen when you're playing like a veteran quarterback. Even if you think they're shit, veteran quarterbacks are going to make throws like that sometimes, and you're going to be pissed off.
Exactly.
I would love for you to import this into the piece tomorrow, Steve. Chase Claypool is the king of the offensive pass interference.
He is proving to be very good at it. It's because of his build. He's just so broad that he can really make it look like you messed with him. Gage, we were talking about this just before you got into the stream. What did you think about coming out of this game? What did you think about the hierarchy of the receivers? And if you go through them, I felt like two of them had moments where they kind of showed that they were willing to face their bugaboo from last year, which I thought Deontay making the bobbling touchdown catch and Claypool fighting through contact a little bit, which I thought was important because he had a play early on where he got out physicaled by the corner, and I was like, you can't let that happen, bro. You're 6'4", like you can't let that happen anymore. And then I thought he fought through that later on, and then Juju was just Juju. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think I would disagree with anything that you just said. I think that the one I was the most impressed with, I really thought that this would be a Pat Freiermuth kind of a game, and it was.
Me too. I was surprised that he didn't keep going to him because it seemed like he would have mismatches whenever he wanted it.
Well, they had him like when they needed him, like on that last drive where we went up by a touchdown, we went up by 10, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And they had that big ball to Freiermuth on like a 3rd and 10 or something down the middle. So I mean, like Freiermuth I feel like they're going to ease him into it a little bit. They're not going to make him a focal point right away, which is understandable. But I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to do the same thing they did to Martavis, where like they protect him and
keep him under wraps.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. What was your question?
No, just what you thought of the receivers. Like, just individually, if you go 1 through 1, I thought, or 1 through 4, I think we learned maybe a little something about all of them.
I think so too. With Deontay, we saw that he's willing, that he knew what his mistake was last year. It was the drops. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we could see it a mile away. He can create separation. He's great at making space. He's fast. He's quick, which is different. Mm-hmm. That's all well and good, but he needed to work on the drops. And man, what a catch!
The touchdown.
The touchdown catch. I was blown away when I saw that, where he just tipped it to himself. Tipped it to himself. It was great concentration. It reminded me a little bit of the Martavis Bryant catch. It wasn't nearly as good, but I don't know, same kind of concentration thing. It stood out to me. Uh,
Yeah, I agree. And to get the feet down too, that wasn't easy.
yeah,
No, that
yeah,
was he needed to drag it there. It was good, nice.
that'll be one of his biggest catches of the year for sure. Juju, I mean, listen, Juju is they. I like what they're doing with him, which is that they're not just keeping him exclusively in the slot, but it feels like that's where they're going to put him on big downs, like third
I
downs and whatnot.
I agree,
Yeah.
and to me, that's still, I still think that's a point in the column of Juju is the number one receiver on this team. I really believe
Yes.
that. I think we saw it in 2 or 3 clutch situations today that he went to Juju, and the guy is just money when it matters. He reminds me so much of Hines, and I just
Yes.
hate to see the hate he gets. I was being sarcastic, screaming about it today, watching the game. Just like every time he bowls somebody over or whatever, it's like, oh, you just got pulled over by a TikTok influencer. Or when he recovered, by the way, did you notice that onside kick was just chilling there? And
Yeah, beautiful. He
who
dived in there for
who
it.
ran up and scooped it perfectly? Number 19,
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster. So
It,
to me, I just still don't feel any differently. I still think that Juju is the number one receiver in that room.
Oh, he
yeah,
definitely is.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Austin.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say that onside kick recovery, it like
It was
summarizes who Juju is in
it's
general. I mean,
perfectly said, dude. I couldn't say it better myself. It really does.
yeah, just gonna be
Juju,
that safety net.
I feel like there was a play that kind of encapsulated Juju a little more, in my opinion. And it was that I forget what it was. It was like a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 12 or something. They throw it to Juju over the middle. He
Yep.
makes the catch and like stiff arms one dude and then like trucks over the other and gets the first down. And I'm like, how many times are we going to see that before people shut up about TikTok?
They did have one play where Buffalo snuffed that out, and I was like,
Yeah.
you've been
Blew
running
him
that
up.
play for 15 fucking years. Like, you think they're gonna catch on to it?
Well, it worked a couple times. It was just they finally caught on to it. But what I love, and this is to trail back to the receivers here for a second. What I love about what they're doing with the offense, they're doing a little bit sort of what the Chiefs do, where they keep their fast dude, their fast slot guy on the inside, and they have 2 burners, one on
Yep.
the out, one on the left, one on the right. We have Chase Claypool on the left or right, and we have Deontay opposite him. And then you have Juju, the best slot receiver in the game, mind you, in the slot. So that is pretty solid. I can't complain about that. I just think if they get the stop having Tomlin call the fucking plays, please, for the love of God. Just give it to Matt Canada. The guy clearly knows what he's doing. You saw that in the second half. You saw the adaptation. You
Dude,
saw
I
all
don't
the
even
play
think,
action.
but I don't even think Tomlin would have the ability to call offensive plays at this point.
You
I
know
really,
that he has no. Come
Yeah.
on, you know that he has some kind of influence. You see the same shit no matter
I,
who the offensive coordinator is. It's
it's
run, pass.
mentality, but I mean, I don't think Tomlin. I don't know. I
It's
think
his
I think
influence is my point.
Tomlin does that shit on defense, and he's done it in times when it mattered big, like those. I believe firmly that Cleveland and Jacksonville playoff games. I really do, and I hate to throw Tomlin under the bus when I thought he coached one of his finest games today. But I do think in those games he was inputting on the defense, and he didn't really, leave it to Keith. Like, I think Keith knows what he's doing well enough. And
I know that Tomlin's
I don't think he does it offensively, though. I don't know, Austin. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
Tomlin
know.
does any. I think offense is completely hands off to him. I think Ben could do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that over Gage.
Well, no,
I don't
yeah,
think
no,
Tomlin.
sorry, go ahead. God damn it.
I just you're good. I just don't think that he's as involved. I mean, I'm sure mentality wise, like you said, he has a sprinkle in it in every position group on this team. But overall, I mean, definitely for defense, he seems to be in Keith Butler's ear sometimes. But offensively, I don't know.
Well, like normally I would agree with you because he's a defensive minded coach. He was the defensive coordinator of the Vikings. I think he was the defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers. At
He
some
was
point,
secondary
too.
coach there, yeah.
Well, he was secondary coach. I thought he was the DC at some point. Too.
In Minnesota, not in
Okay.
Tampa.
Okay. Well, point being is that he's a defensive minded coach, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
get that he wouldn't be as and that's all Steeler coaches in history. But my issue with it is that no matter who the OC is, you see the same dickless, lifeless play calling, no matter what, and it's the same pattern over and over again. It's run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. minimal play action. I mean, finally we got the motion stuff figured out because we got Matt freaking Canada in there. But like, you could tell that once they cut that shit out, once they stopped with the 2nd and 10 like runs right up the gut, and they start, letting
Yeah.
Canada kind of do what he does, letting him go with the motion and letting him do the more play action stuff, doing the bootlegs, like just letting Ben get rid of it quick. All of a sudden, the offense works, and it's just Tomlin has got to cut that shit out, or else it's going to cost us.
What what did you think about? I mean, I gotta put this on you because you're the guy who's been the most pro Matt Canada since day one.
Please.
How do you feel after the first game? I would imagine, I think I feel mixed, but more positive at the end of it than I did think I would be feeling at halftime, if that makes sense. I'm curious how you
Oh,
feel.
oh yeah. I mean, Canada's offense, like you could see whenever it works. Like, and yeah, I don't think anybody for a second expected us to just go in there and have the offense operate on all cylinders the full time.
Sure.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's, to have some hiccups and some glitches, and this is a new O line that, doesn't look very good right now. So that's understandable, so that you're not going to have maybe the Canada system firing on all cylinders. But I will say that it got better as time progressed, and you could tell that their game plan going into the game was to wear out the defense.
Yeah,
And
clearly.
and you saw that, like, what was it going in? Najee had like 30 yards or something going into the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, like, they go with these draw plays, and he's ripping up like 10, 8, 10
Yeah.
more yards.
Yeah, he
You could
had
tell that was the strategy.
16 for 45.
Yep.
I thought
2.8
Buffalo
average.
did a good job on him.
Yeah, and
But
I mean,
he
Yeah,
like,
they did.
he was able to convert a couple though that I was saying this to Austin before you got on. I think he was able to convert a couple that we've seen in previous years, Connor or Snell or Jalen not be able to convert. Um,
oh, he had more of those invisible yards plays that I've talked
Yeah,
about, where the
exactly.
the O line gets crushed inwards, and then he just rips off like 6 yards, and it's like
yeah,
that
it's
was
huge.
absolutely. I meant to bring this up in the last stream, and I never got the. I forgot to, but I mentioned that, like, Najee, and just what a better back he is than, no disrespect to, than James Conner and all these other guys, because when you had Conner in there, it didn't matter what the situation was, his response was the same, which is to lower his head and plow
Yeah.
forward.
Yep.
it, Najee knows when to juke, when to spin, when to stop, when to reverse field, when to change direction. He
Well, and
can see the field.
Connor, part of the reason he got hurt so much is he was never able to minimize contact.
Yes.
I felt
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Najee did a good job of when he was taking contact, it was relatively smooth. He had one
Kind of
play
brush
where
it off.
it was one play where he went down a little awkward, and I do want to point out this is different from Najee, but our man's large Benjamin taking some shots in there at 39
Uh,
years old.
Yeah, he is.
He was getting hit, dude. He looked
He
like
ran for one too.
he that 13 yards on 2nd and 20.
There you go.
Hello, that
Yeah,
was
he
a
got
huge
up
play.
limping. He got up limping his knee.
I was worried about the fucking
Yeah.
baseball slide. It wasn't smooth.
No,
Oh,
there never are. It's hard. It's hard to get that whole body on the ground in a
well,
short period of time.
he's built like, I mean, if he played baseball, he'd be like a catcher. You don't expect him
Yeah.
to be too adept at that. But that was shades of the 2010 game that we had on the rewind episode. Remember he had that long, like 20-yard scramble in that game.
Yep. Yep.
yeah. I see some people in the chat that are saying, like, that I said Tomlin was calling plays. No, I mean that
Put him
Tomlin's
on blast,
influence.
Gage. Put him on blast.
I'm not putting anyone on blast. I'm just saying, like, maybe let me rephrase that. It's that his input is very, very obvious, at least in the first half of the game. You saw, again, it was the same shit. It was run, run, pass. You saw it from Randy. You saw it from Todd Haley. You saw it from Bruce Arians.
I just think I think that's part of their game plan. I mean, how many passes did Ben throw today? 20, 28, 30, 32, but relative
30,
to last
yeah.
year, it didn't feel like a rough 32, did you? I mean, I didn't feel like Ben was out there just slinging
No.
it.
No, I think 32 is still a little high. But I mean, you're gonna have that.
In 2021, is it? I don't know. I think
No,
32
in this
is
offense. I mean, in this offense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a little bit high for this offense, but at like the running game wasn't working the way that they wanted it to from the starter. They weren't sticking with it completely, so you could see why that happens a little bit. I mean, there's always going to be some of that from game to game. It's always going to fluctuate depending on who you're facing. So I think that had more to do with the Bills' ability to stop the run than it did the Steelers like wanting that to be the case. I think
Did you
we'll
guys see
find
that?
it.
Oh
Go
No,
ahead.
you're good. What?
no, did you guys see that first play where they had the line switching around and stuff?
Yeah, they had Dan
Yeah,
Moore, I think, motion from either the right to the left or
yeah,
left
with
to the right.
Pat.
Yeah.
That's the Matt Canada offense, man.
But
That
what does
I'm
that
just
do? Like, how does that fool a defense? Like, I don't understand. The
it
left
has them.
tackle's still lined
Oh,
up
it
where the
makes
left
him
tackle.
shift though. Well,
Yes.
they also had Juju come around on the back, and that
Yeah, they
made
did the.
everyone kind of hesitate right before they snapped the ball. Then they ran it the other way.
Oh,
So
they're gonna give people a lot to think about for sure.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
But like that's the thing is every single time someone motions, someone either has to follow him or someone has to align with him, which means that that's going to be a tell of man or zone coverage. You also got to remember that you have the jet sweeps that you can potentially take out the back door. Like there's so much that motion does to open up defenses and get information to bang. And so I'm
yeah,
really excited to see that.
Very true. It's all about putting him in good places. We talked about this, I think. I don't know if it was just me and you, Gage, or I don't remember what show it was, but we talked about making decisions easier for Roethlisberger, where
Yes.
even though he's a veteran and
Yep.
he can look over 5 options and figure it out, you still don't want him to have to do that on every play. It's a lot of calculating. It's a lot going on. Make it easier if you can.
Why were they running those RPOs with the outside? Like they were going to the outside instead of like a slant inside, like to Juju or something like that. They were throwing it to Deontay on the boundary, and I'm like, do you not remember the duck game, man? Like
yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
huge problem in that game was we couldn't use the middle of the field properly.
I didn't feel. Did you ever feel at any point like Ben's arm strength was an issue? It didn't.
I don't think so. I think he floated a couple, but I don't think
But
he,
he's been doing that
any
since
of them
like
were
2016.
underpowered.
He's
Yeah,
been
I
doing
know.
that since
That's
like
just what he does.
2016. He's been like that for like 4 or 5 years now. When he misses high.
Yeah, he floated a couple. The deep ball accuracy was about what it was last year, I think. So I mean that's not an
He
improvement.
he had, I thought, 2 bad plays. He had the
Too
strips
bad, yeah.
the strip sack, which a guy of his caliber, that can't be a strip
Yeah.
sack, bro. You know where you are. I'm glad. I want to see him play like 2004 Ben when it's scramble throw. But if you're wrapped up, like you're not escaping it like you did 15 years ago. And Ben's always fallen victim to this, but sometimes you just got to eat the sack. Like Peyton Manning wasn't
Yeah.
always wrong for eating the sack. I know everybody laughs because that's a funny phrase actually. But sometimes you have to just take it. And
Like, for a minute.
people make fun of it because it looks silly, but I think Ben could stand to do that a little bit here and there. But still, that strip sack was a really bad play. And then he threw one. I got to look back at it. I don't remember when it was, but there was one where I think we were pretty deep in our own end, and he might have been a third down, and he chucked it, and it was pretty high and hard, and it bounced, and it was almost intercepted, and that was a pretty bad throw, but luckily it wasn't picked. But other than that, I thought he played really almost flawless in the second half. He just missed that one throw to Najee.
I
He missed
liked
a
that
couple
one
of
throw he
Elijah in
had.
the second half.
Oh yeah, he did. He overthrew Najee a couple times on easy ones. And the one play that I did like though, I liked the throw to Claypool on like third down. That was like such a nicely positioned ball where he kind of got banged up on that one. Claypool
Yes.
did.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked that throw and a few other ones as well. I don't think he played bad by any means. I don't think that you could say that.
I, like he had what was it, like a 50% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, no picks. I mean, he was more or less a game manager.
A little
Yeah.
bit more than that. 18 of 32.
Yeah, that's yeah, okay. That's like what 55%.
Yeah, I mean, if you tell me though, like he's not going to turn it over, and he's going to complete 2/3 of his passes, and he didn't need to air it out, that's a positive. To me, if you win a game, especially on the road against a team with an MVP candidate at quarterback, and
Yep.
Ben only had to throw for 188 yards. That tells you everything you need to know about the new offense.
No. I'm not complaining. Like
Yeah.
Ben did what he had to do to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he's more of a game manager. I think that suits him better at this stage in his career.
I think it's
You
always
know,
suited him better. I don't, even though he put up great stats, he's never really been at his best when you're like, oh, throw it 60 times. He's just had a couple
well,
crazy good games. He's always at his best when he has a good run game. I mean, who
but I
isn't?
mean, really, how many
Yep.
quarterbacks throughout history have ever been at their best when they're chucking it
Yeah.
60 times a
None.
game?
Literally
None. Yeah,
none.
none.
Yes.
It's the problem is that we've had a shit O line, we've had a shit run game. I mean, now that we at least have some kind of scheme that can like maybe produce a little bit of yardage on its own. Like let me give you an example. Like the 49ers like a season or two ago when they had all those injuries and they had fucking CJ Beathard as their quarterback.
Oh, that was crazy.
They were still like without Garoppolo and the running back and all their linemen and whatnot, without George Kittle for like some time. They still put up like the 14th most like offensive like yards and points in the league or something like that. Like there's something to be said for scheme.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm getting at.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Positive early returns.
Yeah, I mean, listen, run the ball and play action. If we can stick with that, we can keep the defense off the field. We can wear the defenses down. We have a good shot of doing something this year. 11 personnel, 12 personnel, just fucking go out there and run the ball down their throats.
Yeah, Spencer in the chat's right. The stats are going to be skewed just because of how badly they came out of the gate this season. I mean, this is their first game of the season. It's to be expected, a little bump in the first.
Well,
I'm happy we at least got to see
Yeah.
a rebound this game,
Yeah.
because that's a lot different than losing this game and having to
Well,
hope for a rebound next week.
And you want to know what I would say to that? If I told you at 11 o'clock this morning that Josh Allen was going to throw for 270, no picks, and a score, Singletary was going to go 11 for 72, and Ben was going to go 18 of 32 for only 188, and Najee was only going to get 45 on the ground, and the Steelers are going to win by taking a knee.
Yeah.
I think you would have signed up for that, right? Like,
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it's who cares? Who cares how many yards you get if you control the entire second half?
Yeah,
They got
there's
a
only
top
one
10
stat that counts.
It's true. It's
Yep.
and it's W's. They have a top 10 defense and a top 5 quarterback, and yet we were able to go out there. By the way, their offensive line. That's something else I wanted to
I
actually
think their
gripe
D is
about.
overrated. I don't think the back end of their D is well. Then no, their corners are good, but I don't think their safeties are good, and I don't think their linebackers
Middle.
are very good in coverage.
They have a weak middle. I agree.
I think
Yeah,
I think you can make a
they're-
case that Terrell might have actually surpassed Tremaine Edmonds. I actually think Tremaine Edmonds has become slightly overrated. He never impacts the game whenever I watch them. He just makes a bunch of tackles.
Yeah, I actually heard somebody, like one of the Bills reporter people, saying that like people tend to have a higher view on Tremaine from outside of like the Bills circle than the people who are actually like Bills fans have of him.
Oh, wow.
They kind of see him as more as I mean everyone else really boasts about him.
Yeah,
So
you hear a lot about him, but I don't know
Yeah.
that he's so much better than Terrell. I thought the safeties held down the back really well today. I thought Mink played a nice game. The only play I thought Minka was bad on was there was one play where he was almost playing like a dime backer spy on Allen, and he got his ankles broken by Allen, and I was a little bent out of shape about that, because when it's Minka, you're like, dude, it's Minka, like he's gonna make the play, and I was a little bummed about that. But other than that, I thought he was Minka Fitzpatrick. Don't throw at him.
How well of a job do you guys think they did at containing Diggs and Allen?
I think they did a lot better of a job than I could have seen happening before the game, honestly.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think that Allen didn't have what you would call like a big game, a guy like his caliber, 270 yards, 30 of 51. I thought he was pretty inaccurate in the second half. To be honest, I know people are going to say
Pressure was getting to him.
I know people are going to say
yeah.
this is me being a homer, and I know Ben had less yards and whatever. To me, Ben was the better quarterback today. Don't you think? Ooh, silence.
I
I don't know. I thought Allen missed a shitload of completions
think
in the
Allen
second
had
half.
a lot. I think he had a lot more bad balls. He threw a lot more bad balls. Like he threw.
I thought
And
so.
you know what? No, you say that, and I know Ben had his fair share as well,
He
especially
did,
those
but
like
Ben
short jump
missed
hops and stuff.
like one or two little screen throws where he just threw it a little too high. You don't know, maybe Najee was in a different spot than he anticipated or whatever. But Allen, to me,
Allen threw bad balls, man.
bad. He had some where he missed guys that were open on third downs.
Yep.
To me, he didn't look like somebody you're like, oh, this is an MVP candidate. I'm not saying Ben played his best game ever, but I think Roethlisberger was the better quarterback of the two. I think
he was more efficient, you might say. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good word to use.
Fair.
Yeah, but like I was worried. Like the big thing I was worried about was Diggs. I was worried
Yeah.
about Diggs and I was worried about Beasley. And I thought that what was it, James Pierre and Cam Sutton.
I thought Pierre, that was the most encouraging thing for me, was I
The
thought
knockout.
Pierre was great.
He knocked the ball out after that catch.
Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah. I thought that was almost worth a second look. I thought he might have had that for a second.
Hmm.
He might have, but honestly, like I was content with that because I think that led to like a 3rd and 12 or something like that.
My man Big Press had one bad punt though. They got bailed out.
Yeah.
They got bailed out on a turnover on
I
downs.
went to
but
pee during that one, so I didn't even catch it.
that was a shankopotamus.
I am content with having Presley occasionally fuck up a punt as opposed to Jordan Berry, where it was literally a coin flip.
Yeah.
Come on, Jordan wasn't
it's
that
your first
bad.
game too.
Jordan was. I have never seen so many. Two things. One, I've never seen so many 30-yard punts from a punter before. And
Yeah,
B,
that's
I've
true.
never seen so many inside the 20 punts where it goes out at like the 19.5-yard line.
You know what I thought in regards to the special teams? I think my good friend Cruz Steelski tagged me in a tweet. He's so good. He's so good at like being petty that he always remembers when people say things. He tagged me right after the game and he was like, yo, how about that new special teams unit? Because you guys know all August I've been like, hey, I'm happy for Harvin. I hope he's great, but I have been concerned like the operation, the long snapper, the hold, that stuff's important. And I give credit where it was due. That field goal that was a game-winning kick. I know we were already up and whatever, but that was a game-winning kick. And
that was the game sealing, definitely.
That was a big moment. In a place like Buffalo, dude, 47 is
not easy.
That's no give me. And Boz absolutely drilled that shit. My man is ice cold. I got so much respect for Boz. He's
the most accurate kicker in the league since 2018. I will scream it from the mountaintops. Boz is the best kicker right now, not Justin Tucker.
I don't know if I agree with that yet.
Just go. Well, the only
Tucker can kick him from like 65 yards.
What if Boswell didn't have that down year? Like the conversation would be a lot easier.
I think in general, most people still consider him one of the best kickers in the league. I don't think that changed the general perception. I think most people think of him as pretty good, and they should. I think he's as far as kickers
are 1 and 2.
As far as kickers that I'm trying to think now in my era watching the Steelers, I really have as high of a confidence level in Boswell as I ever had in any kicker. Jeff Reed was clutch, but Jeff Reed didn't have the distance that Boz does. If you were over 45 with Jeff, you weren't really sold. Like Boz will crush a 53-yarder in the clutch, and it's kind of no big deal.
He had a 59-yarder last year at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
Did he? I don't remember that. What game was that?
It was 58 or 59. I don't remember which game.
I kind of remember that now that you say that, but I haven't thought of that in a long time.
Someone mentioned like new long snapper and a new holder, and Boz didn't give a fuck.
No.
Yeah, not a step missed.
No, I thought that field goal was. I mean, it's obvious to say. I'm not breaking any news by saying this, but I just that was the moment where you're like, well, you get this, it's over. And Gage, we were saying before you got in here, you just kind of felt if Boz ever missed that, you just knew Allen would tie it up. Football is just so about ebb and flow.
Sometimes you're playing those teams too that make you have that feeling.
God.
It's like the Vikings from 2000. I was like, if we miss this, we're fucked.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I didn't think there was any world in which I was going to be like there was going to be a Ben kneel down I just didn't see that happening. I
Yeah.
thought we could win. I didn't see that.
I think we had a nice like I liked this game because we had a nice like even viewing of special teams, offense, defense, like the ability to come back. Like I feel like it was well balanced. It gave us a little taste of everything. I mean, special teams, uh,
Yeah, I mean that's debatably play
everything.
of the game.
Yeah.
All right,
I
because
will
was
say,
that? Let me think. Was that? That was we had scored a touchdown to go up 13 to
I think
10.
yeah, we were up by 3 at that point, and then that brought us up by 10.
Yeah, that
yep.
probably has got to be the 5-star play of the game, right?
You
Spoiler
know what?
alert, but might
Though
have to.
the fact that we haven't even mentioned that they returned the first kick of the game to
Wow,
our
yeah.
25-yard line is a great thing. I'm so happy
Wow.
that they
Yeah.
did well enough for us to not even mention that till this point in the show.
Wow,
wait,
that
what?
is a very good point.
I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
The opening kickoff of the game that they returned
Oh
to our
yeah.
25 and our defense, I mean, even from that start,
Our
looked
defense
great.
had them go 3-and-out when they started at our 25. Like
Yeah.
right then and there, I said, okay, this is going to be a tough game.
Well, yeah, and
Yep.
how many drives did Buffalo have that they got like beyond their own 45 where they didn't score? Because there was the 2 turnover on downs. There was, did they have a turnover? Yeah, TJ got the fucking strip sack on
Yep.
that. Oh, that turned the game too.
Yep.
You know something I
We haven't even
noticed
talked
that-
about that TJ strip sack, man. That was a huge play. TJ couldn't have been any better today. I thought he did get gassed at points, if I'm being honest, though.
Yeah, he did. He looked gassed at
He
points,
really
and
did,
you
and
could tell he would be out the next couple of plays after that. But the way that they were rotating, I liked a lot. Like,
Yeah.
Me too. Ingram
Yeah.
is a player, dude. And Highsmith, they were whooping those tackles. I don't know how many holding calls there was, but it felt like they
lot.
were
Could have been a
drawing
lot
a
more.
shitload. It felt like they were beat. And there was one play where Highsmith just got completely past the tackle, and he just got him with like a forearm to the neck, and they called it holding. But they were whooping those. Is Buffalo seen as a pretty decent offensive line, or are they just mediocre?
That's what they say.
yeah, they are. Yeah.
Wow, I thought they were really beating them at the point of attack.
Well, like they were doing what they were supposed to do. I mentioned this in one of the other streams. I don't remember which one, but it was that the Steelers defense does so well at containing mobile quarterbacks just for the fact that they all attack different parts of the pocket.
Yeah.
And you saw that time and time again where like pretty much especially in the second half where like it felt like Allen would get the snap, he would take like 1 or 2 steps back, and then all of a sudden he's got to go scrambling because the edge has already been set.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
greatly.
No, they do.
You could tell the pressure got to him.
They do a good job against mobile quarterbacks because Allen, it was diminishing returns. Early on, you were like, oh, 8, 9, like, what the fuck? Stop this guy. But then as they went on, they were minimizing his carries. And it reminded me a lot. The flow of this game, actually, the game it reminded me most of from last year, I don't know if you guys agree, but was the first Baltimore game. Do you see that? The way Baltimore just kept attacking, but they just couldn't get it. The Steelers, they employed a really good bend but don't break against a great mobile quarterback, and it worked both times. Allen, there are questions for me. I really don't know. His accuracy is somewhat concerning. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think this game you saw some of that.
You know what game this game really reminded me of? Like not from last year, but just the game that stuck out to me that I drew a lot of similarities with was I want to say it was 2017 or 2018, the Jaguars comeback where we were down 16-0.
That's 18, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 18, yeah. And then AB had that 75-yarder, and then we got the field goal.
Yeah, that was the one in post-game. Ben was like, they were like, oh, what did AB do on that play? And he was like, well, I like scrambled, and AB did a little like blah, 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 blah. And he like did like a little like snake gesture with his hand. It was so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that game reminded me of. It was the game. It was the Steelers never thinking they were out of it. You always think you can come back.
They usually, I mean, you know.
I mean, I've seen them do it a lot in my life.
I've seen Ben do it so many times, man. And this is another come from behind victory for Roethlisberger.
Yeah, is that another fourth quarter comeback for his record books?
Were they losing at the start of the fourth?
Let me see.
I think so.
I can't remember. I can't remember how the quarters broke down today. I know I keep forgetting that, but I just
Yeah, they were losing 10-6
Oh,
at
wow.
the end of the third.
Okay, well, so yeah, it's another fourth quarter comeback for Roethlisberger, who's definitely somewhere in the top 10 all time of that happening. You just love to see it. Shout out all the people in the chat if you're hanging out. If you like the content on 5-Star Radio, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so you know when we go live on 5-Star Radio. And if you could, click that like button. It helps us rank in the algorithm, helps us get more viewers. And most importantly, but last, if you like what we do, please consider joining our Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/5SMU. You get free stuff in the mail, and it's awesome. And you support the channel, helps us get more work done so we can keep doing cool stuff like this for you. Gentlemen, topic, anything. I just did a plug. I don't have anything to say. Give me something.
I got a little something. How do you feel? So the Browns are winning right now. 22-10.
Wow.
A minute left in the half.
In the first half?
Yep.
Okay, wow, that's impressive. I did see Nick Chubb had 2 touchdowns. I have him in fantasy.
Yeah. Obviously, we're not watching that game, so it's hard to actually tell what's happening.
I mean, looks like both quarterbacks are dealing. Baker, 11 of 13 for $143, no scores. Even Mahomes, 15 of 20 for $169, but also no scores. Kansas City's got nothing going on the ground though. So, and Cleveland's already got 98 on the ground. So, impressive stuff. I think Cleveland's gonna be. Tariq though has almost 100 yards already. He must have had a long one. No, he didn't.
Man,
long of 28.
maybe...
So Tariq's just cooking them. They'll figure it out. Kansas City will figure that game out.
The AFC North, man.
It's gonna be
good. We're killing the big boys today, I guess.
It's going to be good. I think the Browns and Steelers are going to be a couple of classics this year. They're both going to be good.
We're going to split with them.
They're both going to be good. I think Steelers fans that want to flush Cleveland down the toilet and think that they're not real, I think you're silly. Cleveland is good, and I'm for one glad they're good. Like I want to punch them in the face when they're good.
I'd rather beat a good team, like I said with this whole schedule this season at the beginning of the show. I'd much rather beat them when they're good. It's not impressive to beat them when they're shit, which they've been notoriously.
I mean,
so,
shit.
Roethlisberger's
like the whole career they've been terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Roethlisberger's just owned them. So it's nice to have a little bit more competition in that regard. So
I think Baltimore's
I think we're more than capable of winning.
I think Baltimore's going to have a really tough time. I think they could be like 8 and 9 this year.
Yeah, that was basically my prediction with them. I mean, like, listen, when you have who is it? Alejandro Villanueva blocking for Le'Veon Bell in 2021. Good luck.
Worked for us in 2016.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's when Al could block a little.
Al really did look cooked last year. I'm not even trying to talk down on him. I appreciate what he did for the Steelers. I'm not somebody who shits on him like a lot of people, but he really did not look like he I was shocked he kept playing. He really looked like he didn't want to play football last year, I thought.
He can't even bend down to get into his stance anymore.
Poor Al.
Like I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but like he did cause some drama in the locker room and whatnot. So I mean, there's also that.
He said a couple of things, but yeah, I don't want to go down that road.
Okay, fair enough. But like, but really, like he was
no, I get it.
An average player, I would say.
He was slightly above average for a period of time, but that period of time ended in like 2017.
Sure. Yeah, we can agree on that.
I think there was a general feeling whenever that move happened that like that's probably what needed to happen for us to move forward.
Who sticks out to you guys as, I mean, this is obviously super broad, but who sticks out to you guys as player of the game off the top of your head? I have an interesting one I can posit, but if you guys have any ideas, I'm interested to hear. I have one. I mean, I'll go first if you guys both need a second. I was so
Cam Sutton, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's what I was gonna say as well.
I was so impressed by Sutton. I thought he really looked like somebody who was like, "No, fuck you, I'm a starting cornerback right now." And I think, and coupled with the way Pierre played, and the way Joe still looked like Joe Hayden from 6 years ago, he really did. He even made a couple of nice tackles and run support that looked like Ike Taylor. And
popped the ball out on that sideline one too. It just popped out of bounds.
And I think the secondary to me was probably the most encouraging thing. No, we're not surprised that the front seven is good. We knew that. That's not news. But seeing the back end as good as it was, I think that's going to be really good. It's crazy that we all thought Cam Sutton.
That's why having those like key people in those positions like Minka are like, it's so key because it drives the quality of play for everyone who steps in there so high up. That's why I'm always an advocate for paying those kind of guys because they're just going to drive the quality up.
Yeah, you can have a defense with TJ and Minka for the next 10 years, and it's going to be an above-average defense no matter who else is on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that with guys like oh, wow, I totally lost his name. All right, whatever. The point being that you could take guys that are really good, and you can have 11 good guys, but if you add a TJ Watt or a Minka Fitzpatrick, it makes everybody up a tier.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean? Absolutely.
Khalil Mack, Jesus Christ. I was going to say,
he makes everybody better.
Yep.
Well, the Raiders, with the defense, whenever they had Khalil Mack, was below average, I think, maybe. But then the second he left, I
gotta cut in with a tiny little league update for those that may not be aware. This is a stunner to me, and I gotta shit talk because my good friend Mike is a Packers fan. I'm sure he's not in here. I'm sure he's watching his team. But in the third quarter, the Packers are losing 17-3 to New Orleans. Ain't that a little bit of a shocker, boys?
17-3, absolutely a shocker.
How does that happen?
Jameis has 9 of 12 for 65. 9 of 12 for 65, 2 touchdowns, 126 rating. Aaron Rodgers 7 of 12, 69, no scores, no picks, 74 rating.
It's a running game, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Well,
yeah, Kamara's having a nice one, 13 for 64 on the ground.
Kamara versus Aaron Jones.
I like Alvin Kamara, man. I'm a big fan of him. Too. He's one of my favorite league-wide players to watch play. There's something, just the way he moves. I really like it.
It reminds me a little bit, again, not a direct comparison, but it reminds me a little bit of Le'Veon in his prime.
A little bit. Le'Veon had a little bit more mass. Le'Veon was just a little bit bigger. Yeah. Kamara just is such a nice. He's just so quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a second. By the way, who's someone who I noticed got more snaps than I would have anticipated is
I know
Trey
who you're
Norwood.
Say. Yep.
Yeah. Norwood, we already did.
Yeah.
We already talked about
it. He was in for a good amount of the game, and he
played the first snap of the game. Yeah, he played good.
Yeah.
That is what is he, a 7th round pick or 6th?
7th round rookie.
7th.
Yeah, wow. It was surprising to me. I think Butler had alluded. I think Butler alluded to it, and somebody was on that sort of trail. Somebody I don't remember who said that they thought that it could be what the thing was, but it was surprising. Early on, I was watching, and there was a couple of those 2nd and 10s where they'd get 6 or 7 to Beasley, and I'm sitting there saying, you can't have a rookie 6th rounder on Cole Beasley, no matter how much you like him. Cole Beasley's a professional slot guy. You can't leave that to happen. But then as the game went on, everything Buffalo did was diminishing returns. The more I think about it, the more the Steelers coaching staff really did beat Buffalo. And you have to say all 3 phases of the game.
Yep.
And I can't believe I just said that, but am I wrong? I mean, offense, defense, and special teams, I think they were the better team.
Well, something that I think shows a lot of promise this year is that we showed that we can get better as the game goes on.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that was really missing last year. It felt like as soon as someone figured us out, we had 0 response. This was an offense. You could see that coming out into the second half, you would see that they got the play action involved more. You would see that they were starting to land those jet sweeps. Those were starting to work with the one to Chase Claypool. They did one. Yeah, I think they did one to Juju, if I'm not mistaken. They kept spreading the ball around, and you saw once the offense got in rhythm, you could see what the Canada offense does, and I think that was really fun to watch.
I do want to say, this is just an aside, but someone in the chat says, I was so confused about why Justin Houston didn't join the Steelers. I thought Allen. Well, that's a different part, but he said I was confused why they didn't get Houston.
Ooh,
And
yeah,
I will
know.
say I thought I wanted Justin Houston, but I've seen Justin Houston in the last 2 years, and what I saw from Melvin Ingram today was better than that.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think to answer his question directly, Justin Houston wanted more of like a starting role, if I remember correctly
Yep.
from back then. He wanted to
I think you're
be
right.
the main guy. He didn't
He
want
went
to
to
be in that
Baltimore.
rotation, which I think could end up hurting him as far as like
I don't know. Didn't he go to
not
Baltimore?
did he?
I think he went
I
to.
don't remember
I
where he
think he
actually
went to
landed.
Baltimore. If he's in Baltimore, he'll still get like 12 sacks. He'll still be good. But
Yeah. I think
Ingram, we saw, man, doing stuff. Like he wasn't just a pass rusher.
he was noticeable out there, and
He
not
really
just because
was.
he's wearing an 8, which
That
is a
helped.
little weird.
That helped though.
It
I
does
love
help.
it.
You do
The
notice
number
him. I
change.
like it too.
The number change is the best thing to happen in the NFL since they moved the extra point back. I love it.
I like when you saw there were two people that I was impressed with more than anybody else, and it was Cam Sutton, which we already talked about, and Melvin Ingram. Because
Yep.
Melvin Ingram, like he kind of reminded me of the Bud Dupree role from last year, where maybe he didn't get 2 sacks like TJ did, but he had a lot of pressures.
No,
Oh
he
man, yeah,
impacted.
he was drawing flags too.
Yep,
A
he
lot.
impacted the game.
Yeah, by the way, what the hell was up with their O-line? Like they were calling like two. It felt like 2 holding calls like every freaking series.
Because the pass rushers were kicking their asses. That's
They were
really what
actually
happened.
owning them the whole game from the beginning of the game.
They were totally
Allen looked
out,
flustered.
completely out techniquing them, and Allen wasn't able to make the throws to beat him. Early on, it looked like Ben was the guy who was not able to. The same thing. I'm gonna do this in the show again, but the same thing happened with Ben that always happens. Ben isn't good until he like gets hit a little bit. Like Ben
Give
needs
him a little hit.
he needs to have an excuse to pretend like he's limping for 5 seconds.
I know. And then he's like, "This is my time."
He really does
come in
though.
here.
And maybe it's just mental, but he needs to like have one of those things where he can go to some defensive lineman after a touchdown and be like, and I did that with a fucking sprained knee or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he wants to have that. I don't know, he needs it. And I thought today that was when he started playing really well, when they got him moving a little bit. I thought he was actually by design running and moving at points today. It was pretty awesome to see.
Well, and I think Ben showed that one, he can execute the bootleg, which for some reason people were thinking he couldn't.
He's always been good at it, and they've always underused it, even since he was young.
Yeah. Yes, and like even when Cowher was the head coach in his first couple of years, it was a lot of play action, but not a lot of bootlegs.
No, they used it more in like 04, 05 than they did the rest of his career, which is a travesty because he's always been great at it.
Yeah, and I mean, like I don't know, man. Like when you saw that offense finally start to open up, and they would try, throwing it on first down instead of running it on first and second down. Like just those little things. And then like I said, you saw what was working. I mean, I was spamming the chat with like saying like, why aren't they running more draw plays? Where are the screen passes? Like those are the only things that are working right now, and they're not using them. Like
I was surprised how little they used Naj as a receiver, but I think him and Ben just weren't on the same page. Do you agree? There were a couple.
They had a few off ones early.
I thought there was
kind of threw off the dynamic.
I thought there was 1 or 2 teaching moments you saw where Ben went over to him and did like a arm around the shoulder, kind of like.
The classic.
There was one that was like a third down where I could see, even to a layman, I could see that Naj didn't turn around quick enough, and because he was like the hot thing, and there was clearly a blitz coming, and he just Ben took him after that play and was like, dude, you have to get around quick because I'm gonna like chuck it at you, like but
yeah, he also had that throw to him like right near the goal line that was like he got tackled at like the 2.
Oh, that was so tough. That looked like
I feel like if he gave him another sec, I don't know what the pass rush was like, but if he gave him like 1 more sec there, I feel like it would have been a little easier to get in, but you never know.
They just weren't quite on the same page, but you live with it.
But I mean, to kind of piggyback off that point, though, like I think that it shows a huge amount of promise that with all of the glitches and miscues, missteps that the offense had, that not only did our defense keep us in it, but we ended up being able to come back. And I think and it was against
Yeah.
one of the best teams in
Oh
the AF.
yeah,
Yeah,
You
that
know,
can't
like
be understated. Like they are.
no, that's huge. And I mean, like, I think this is going to be one
completely
of those
agree.
cases. I think this is going to be one of those cases. You guys can freaking document this and bookmark it if you want to, because I'm pretty sure this is exactly what's going to happen. People are now going to start shitting on the Bills, saying, wow, the Bills lost to the Steelers. Maybe they're not as good
No,
as they
I don't
thought
think
they
No
were.
one
so.
shits on people like they shit on us.
Yeah, no, this is
Yeah.
just gonna
No one shits
be.
on people.
This is gonna be. Oh, the narrative. You know what the national narrative is?
Penalties.
No. Well, that's gonna be one. That's the one I'm already seeing from opposing
You really
fans.
think they'll? Yeah, I think opposing
It's
fans will do that, but I
all.
don't think anyone who like
You
knows
know what it's
anything
gonna
would
be?
try to
You're
do
gonna
that.
see the Mina Kimeses of the world, and they're gonna look at the
Ew.
stat sheet, and they're gonna see that Allen had more yards, etc., and they're gonna just compare it without having watched that game, and they're gonna say stuff like, "Oh well, you know, the Steelers had a new offensive coordinator, and the Bills, you know, it was their first game, and they're just like
Shouldn't
a
that
little
be advantage
nervous, and
Bills, though?
they were trying to figure it
Yeah,
out." I know, but I'm just telling you how they're gonna frame it, and they're gonna say, "Oh well, they." You know, the Bills just, they didn't get going until week 3 or week 4. Like, I'm telling you, by the end of the season, people are
Oh,
going to
yeah.
try to make this into a not that big of a deal that you won this game. But really, besides the fact that this was just week 1 and you want to get started off with a win, this was a huge win. I mean, this is the second best
I
team you
agree.
play all year.
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah, exactly. If you can beat the second best team you play all year in the first week,
and you didn't
On
even
the
play,
road.
and you played a horrible first half. You played one half of good
yeah,
football and you beat them.
And I mean, it cannot be overstated. This defense, like I remember Joe Hayden, I said it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He said that this defense might be better than the 2020 defense, and right now, like as it stands, shutting down the Bills' offense.
It's true.
they've
Can
already
you
done
can you
something
disagree
that.
with him?
No,
No.
exactly. They've already done something that last year's team wasn't able to do in the prime of their year, pretty much. Even though they
Yeah,
had some injuries in key positions.
I kind of hold. I don't know about you guys. I hold the 19 team in just slightly higher regard than 20 as far as the defensive side of the ball. Because
Me too,
19,
as well.
do.
Yeah.
they just were
I
like,
think,
we're the only hope. We have to be perfect, or you know that was
6 every
triumphant.
game.
That was the best
Yeah.
defense since 2008, in my opinion. That was crazy. There was completely one-sided team, but last year was still special, and I think this year they could be special again. I think they're just going to be different. It's going to look different.
I think that, but I also think that this defense could be better than that defense, and here's why I think that. Because that for one, Tomlin's shown this is another tendency that he's breaking slowly but surely that I like, which is that he's not letting his players just sit there and fucking fatigue all game. He'll take them out and rotate them finally.
Yeah, that is
We would
true.
see for
Yeah.
years where he just had he had his guys, and even if his guys were getting toasted for like 5 yards at a time by Tom Brady or whatever. He was like, nope, we're just going to keep him in there and keep him blitzing and man coverage. Like
That is
he's
very true.
he's fucking mixing it up now. I like that. And he did that with TJ. He did that with he brought Trey Norwood in, I think, on the first snap
Well,
of the game.
the TJ
It was kind of interesting,
It
the
was
TJ thing, because I didn't feel like nervous that TJ wasn't out there when he
No.
was out. I felt like we still had a great chance of getting good pressure and even getting a sack or something like that.
We have the
Yeah.
best pass rush in the NFL with, and you can make the case without TJ too.
That's interesting.
That is true. The
Well-
pass rush was very impressive, and it was consistent. And I think it only reflected in 3 sacks, but it affected
Yeah.
the game. It affected a lot of Allen's throws.
It affected a lot of
absolutely.
his throws. It affected his reads. He had to run out of the pocket so many times. And I mean, yes, those were like 8 and 9 yard gains initially, but you knew that it wasn't going to stay that way. Like if Lamar Jackson can't scramble that way for 4 quarters, neither can Josh Allen. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you saw that like their offense was slowing down while our offense was speeding up.
Ooh,
So-
I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah, so I think football's a game of momentum, man.
It really is.
And-
You saw that today
Absolutely.
more than anything. It's all about that flow. I mean, the Steelers really, they came out and they weathered a storm on the road, which is what you have to do in a big game, and make no mistake.
Starting five rookies too. It's like
Wow.
that's a hard
Point.
ask.
Good point.
and 5 new offensive line positions.
Well, and
Yeah.
who are you counting as the 5 rookies?
Well, Blitzberg put him in the chat. It's both offense and
So
defense. I'm
you
counting
would that would be Kendrick,
yeah.
Kendrick Moore. Are you?
Najee, freiermuth, Green, Moore, and Trey Norwood.
Oh, okay, so that is including Norwood. So it's not including Harvin.
I
No.
can't.
And I think that's important. That's
Good,
important though,
though.
because not only did Harvin have 2 nice punts, he had 1 bad punt, but we said earlier, held the ball on a absolutely clutch, huge field goal, and I can't overlook that. That's not nothing.
Oh, I have to. I'm glad you mentioned Presley again because I wanted to make a note of this.
He did have 1 shitty punt though.
Yes, he had 1 shitty punt, but I mean, with Jordan, we got like 2 or 3 a game. No,
Everybody
it wasn't
hates
that bad.
poor Jordan.
It wasn't that bad, but like, come on, man, you have to admit he shanked it way worse.
Yeah, he sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We can agree on that. But like with Presley, he had. You say it was 2 good punts. He had 1 that was down to the 2-yard line, which is phenomenal. You literally basically cannot get better than that. And there was another one, and he's done this a couple times now. And I noticed that he does it. He has this really good forward spin where he'll punt it and it'll land
bounce,
and it'll land like 2 feet in front of the guy, and it'll whip like right into him. He does it. That's like the 3rd or 4th time he's done it. And every time we either get it pinned back to like the 1-yard line,
almost like a almost like a knuckleballer, in baseball.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I mean, it works so well for him because he's got such a big fucking leg.
Well, that's something that Jordan Berry just didn't have. I feel like he didn't have that range of different kind of kicks that were.
Yeah,
like it's impressive, honestly.
No, Presley is
and it deep.
He
could not do it.
He's certainly an evolution, and I think you're seeing that happen with punters right now, where there's a real evolution in the position. The way kickers happened like 5 years ago, where you started seeing guys that look like Justin Tucker and Boz. Like Boz and Justin Tucker have different body types than kickers did 10 years ago. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They look like soccer players, and they're these guys where you're like, that guy could boot it fucking 60 yards, and it's mad accurate, but he's like, 5'10", but like lean, like. And I
Gary
think
Anderson.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing that happen now with punters, where people are just kind of putting a little more thought into that position, and it's not just a matter of how far can you kick it. And all I know is I can't be thankful enough that we're even talking about all this stuff, and we were treated to just a lovely afternoon of football. I mean, it's crazy. It's here. It's really here. It really happened, and it was great. Mm-hmm. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, next week we get to actually celebrate it at home, which is awesome.
Oh my God, I'm gonna be there, dude. I'm flying to Pittsburgh on Saturday.
How does this win make you feel about next week?
I would have felt more positive they were gonna win if they lost today.
Really?
That's the exact opposite.
I feel opposite.
I felt like, I don't know, the Steelers are just funny like that. Like I've just they're so
it is the Raiders.
They're so hit or miss early in the season that, like, if they lost today, I'd know, like, oh, full attention, like they're getting a dub next week.
Yeah.
But getting the unexpected win, it makes me more feel like that would be the Steelers, because that's been so much of my life. It's like you go on the road and you get this huge win against fucking Josh Allen, and then I buy tickets and fly out and take my sister and shit. Yeah. And it's like, and the Steelers lose by fucking 20 to Derek Carr. No, okay. I still think they're gonna. I still think I'm being a little jokey. I think they got a good chance to win. I would have felt more definite that they were gonna win had they not won today. Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
a little bit. I have to bring this up. I
get where you're coming from.
I have to bring this up real quick. I feel like it's important. I feel like the Oakland offense is a cause for concern, and it's not because. It's not because we don't have a good D-line. It's not because we don't have a great run defense. Obviously, we do. But it's the problem that I think they're first in the league at number of plays per drive. They're like first in the league at not going backwards or losing yardage.
Yeah, they just get 2, 3, 4, 5 yards consistently.
Yes. Yeah. And like, so that's tough to get past.
Yeah, but Buffalo tried to do that. Buffalo tried to do that today, and that shit didn't work.
Well, they did it. They did
If you
it, but they
stand
had
up
to
in the
they had to throw a lot
if you
more.
stand up in the well, that's true.
There was like one drive we were talking about how they were like, all right, we're gonna run now,
There's
but then
nobody
it
even close to
ended them out.
Josh Jacobs on
He threw it
Buffalo.
51
Yeah,
times.
that's not good for Buff. I really think, Gage, you were very anti-Tomlin at the half, but me and Austin were saying this. Like, I think you have to say that. Like, I think Tomlin outmaneuvered McDermott today for the first time
Yes,
in their
yes, and like
series. I thought McDermott beat him both of the last two times, and it was clear. But I thought Tomlin beat him today.
well, I stand by everything that I said at halftime. It was that it was boring, predictable play calling, and it was the same issue that we've had with every single offensive coordinator. When it's every single offensive coordinator, it's not the coordinator at that point. That's a philosophy issue. That was my point. It's
Yeah,
not that Tomlin's directly calling the plays. That's not what I'm
fair.
getting at.
Yeah.
But okay, so anyway, but then something else I said in the chat was that shit needs to change and it needs to change at halftime. I said unless shit changes like drastically, blah 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 blah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it changed drastically, and
It
so
did.
yeah, I'll definitely give Tomlin credit for that. He coached a hell of a game today,
He
and
did.
he
Yeah.
deserves credit for it.
Yeah.
That's what I've said the whole time. He is a good coach. He's not a great coach.
Well, I would say today he did a
Save the
great
fight
job.
for another
He did a
time.
great job today. I'll say that he did
Yeah.
a great
That's why
job today.
in the chat I was like, after the first half when you were all down about it, I was like, you got to give him credit for what he did.
Well, that's something that he does a lot. Is that he makes as much of a use out of the halftime as really any coach
He has
does.
gotten better at that in recent years, and I think a
He
lot of
has,
that
yeah.
is having smarter assistants.
Smarter people around him,
I've
yeah.
pointed to Terrell Austin a lot, but I think he's really important behind the scenes, and I think Canada is like that now too. So I think, I don't know, I give Tomlin credit in that I think he's been showing a little bit more flexibility to adapt and change his thinking a little bit, and I'll always give a coach credit for that because it's important.
Yes, that is important. I mean,
Uh,
like, one of my favorite examples of that was the Eric Mangini and Bill Belichick kind of connection. If you guys remember
sure,
that,
sure.
when he went to the Jets and whatnot, and they brought when he was brought in, and when they had Chip Kelly and all that, and they became this no huddle like
Of course.
fast tempoed offense, and it changed everything. I think that
Yeah.
just when you can change your philosophy, man, and you can do it in the right way, I feel like the results can be devastating.
And I think that's the underline for the entire 2021 Steelers season, if I'm being honest. If you can change your philosophy and do a good job at it, the sky's the limit, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I think that brings
You
us
know?
to a good point to wrap up our first ever 5-star matchup post game stream. I think
Awesome.
this is going to be available after the fact for the first time, right, Austin?
Yes, it will be. It will be available on Spotify later
Ooh,
tonight.
very exciting. So make sure you look up a 5-star matchup on Spotify. I'm sure we'll share it out when the time is right. Boys, any final thoughts you want to put in or plugs before we get out of here?
Uh, really, I'm just happy we won. That was a beautiful first day of football, and I'm glad we got to come in here and talk to you guys about it a little bit.
Me too.
And I'm excited to do it again. I mean, I'm excited for the episode, honestly, tomorrow.
Oh man,
That's what everyone should be looking forward to the most.
it's gonna be a good one. It's a lot of pressure, but I'm ready to face the task.
Yeah, we know if anyone can do it.
Gage, what about you, bud?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Gage Ryan Video. Find me on Discord, same name, all that. I say, all hail Matt Canada.
All hail, Mad Canada.
We'll blame Canada, but in a good way. I gotta get that as a
Yeah.
sounder for the radio.
We
like
really
a little,
do.
I know. I gotta like get a soundboard set up. I have the Stream Deck thing with all the extra buttons. I just never really like. It's just like applications. Yeah, for me, it's just a matter of make sure you subscribe on the YouTube. If you're here, I assume you already do subscribe to us. Make sure you enable notifications so you don't miss our live streams because they sometimes come at random, unexpected moments in time. If you like what we do, please consider joining our Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/5SMU. Just a couple bucks a month helps the show do big things, pays the bills, lets us make better things for you guys, lets me buy Chipotle for Austin and Gage, right, guys?
Yeah, I actually want to go get Chipotle after this.
Good move.
Man, if I had money and I had a Chipotle near me, I would be there.
Those are
You
two
don't have a
issues.
Chipotle near you?
I do
Damn,
not.
dude. Wow.
I had to drive like friggin' a half hour to get Chipotle. It's bullshit.
Whoa. Well, we'll have to save that one for the next edition of 5-Star Radio, which will probably be tomorrow afternoon if I had to guess, but be on your toes. You never know when to expect it. Most importantly, look for the show tomorrow morning and make sure you like it, comment, share, all that stuff that stupid YouTube influencers say, but make sure you do it because it helps us rank, especially for the first week. Want to do some big numbers. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Stick around for just a minute, and I will say goodbye to you guys in real life. Everybody on the stream, be well. I'm glad we had a exciting first week, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Peace out.
See you later.